The story begins in ancient China, where a powerful emperor once ruled, known as the Dragon Emperor. He showed no mercy and destroyed every kingdom that stood in his way. He forced his prisoners to build the Great Wall of China. Despite having immense power and luxury, the emperor had one burning desire: to become immortal. So, he sent his general, Ming, to find a sorceress who knew the secret of immortality. But things took an unexpected turn. General Ming fell in love with the sorceress, whose name was Ziyuan, Sophia in this version. When the emperor discovered their love affair, he brutally killed Ming and stabbed the sorceress as well. But suddenly, the emperor began to feel strange. Sand started pouring from his eyes. The wounded sorceress screamed in pain and cursed him. Her curse turned the emperor and his entire army into stone, where they remained for thousands of years. Centuries later, the story shifts to London. Here we meet Rick and his wife Evelyn, who once traveled the world searching for ancient treasures. But now, they've retired and are living an ordinary life, a life they find dull and unfulfilling. During a casual conversation, Evelyn says she's worried about Alex. "I've sent him 3 letters," she says, "but he hasn't replied to a single one." Rick sighs and says, "Alex doesn't even try to keep in touch. It's not like we're stopping him from anything." Meanwhile, Alex has been lying to his parents, pretending to be in college, but in truth, he's in China, searching for the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. He's been working with his close friend, Professor Roger Wilson. After days of excavation, the Chinese workers finally uncovered a massive stone gate. Alex and his team used explosives to blow the door open and entered carefully. But the tomb was filled with deadly traps. One wrong step triggered sharp walls closing in from both sides. The team moved cautiously, step by step. Suddenly, they found a skeleton, and the moment Alex touched it, another trap was activated, causing the ceiling to collapse. As light streamed in from the broken roof, they saw thousands of stone soldiers, the Emperor's petrified army. Everyone was stunned. But one of the workers accidentally triggered yet another trap, killing 3 of Alex's men. Panicking, Alex wanted to leave, but Wilson urged him. "We can't stop now. Their deaths will mean nothing if we turn back." Moving forward, they found a strange compass pointing in the wrong direction. When they adjusted it correctly, the ground beneath them suddenly opened. Alex fell into a deep, dark pit while Wilson barely hung onto the edge. Alex landed hard, dazed and scared. As he looked around with his flashlight, he saw skulls and bones scattered everywhere. In the center of the room stood a massive stone statue, the Dragon Emperor himself, turned to stone. Excited, Alex called out to Wilson to share his discovery, but got no response. Suddenly, an assassin attacked him, trying to trap him in a closing stone door. Alex quickly jammed an old vase between the doors to stop them. After a brief struggle, the assassin's face was revealed. It was a woman. Just then, Wilson arrived and started shooting to protect Alex, forcing the mysterious woman to flee. Back in England, a British Special Forces agent named Benjamin visited Rick and Evelyn, asking them to come out of retirement for one last mission. "I know you're done with adventures," he said, "but this mission is critical." Their task was to transport a priceless artifact called the Eye of Shangri-La to the Shanghai Museum. At first, Rick and Evelyn refused, but after some convincing they agreed. When they reached Shanghai, they met Evelyn's brother, Jonathan, who now ran a nightclub there. A little later, Alex was thrown out of the club's kitchen by a man. Rick rushed to help, but then recognized the man. It was Mad Dog McGuire, someone he had worked with years ago. After the scuffle, Rick and Evelyn tried talking to Alex, but he kept his distance. Frustrated, Alex shouted that he didn't want to return to college and stormed out. Later that night, Evelyn took Rick to the rooftop and said, "You need to be gentler with our son. Being too strict won't help. Try to reconnect with him." Rick agreed. They both decided to work on their relationship with Alex. The next day, General Yang, a Chinese military commander, learned that Rick possessed the Eye of Shangri-La. He dreamed of using it to resurrect the Dragon Emperor and make China the most powerful nation in the world. That evening, Alex showed his parents the stone statue he had discovered, the Dragon Emperor himself. Rick was impressed and praised his son proudly. Later, Alex went to find Professor Wilson but sensed someone was following him. He reversed the chase to catch the stalker, while Wilson met with Rick and Evelyn and greeted them warmly, pretending to be an old friend. Rick showed Wilson the Eye of Shangri-La and said, "I trust you completely. Please deliver this safely to the museum." But soon after, General Yang appeared, and Wilson's behavior suddenly changed. He pulled out a gun, pointed it at Rick, and revealed the truth. "It was General Yang who funded your son's excavation. He wants to resurrect the Emperor." Rick and Evelyn tried to stop him, but Wilson threatened to shoot. At that very moment, Alex saw the same woman who had attacked him earlier. She was alive, and her name was Lin. Now, at gunpoint, General Yang ordered Evelyn to begin chanting the ancient spell. When Evelyn read the spell written on the Eye of Shangri-La, the artifact suddenly began to change shape, transforming into a golden goblet filled with the elixir of life, the same potion capable of bringing the Dragon Emperor back to life. General Yang turned to Wilson and said coldly, "Now shoot them, it doesn't matter anymore." But just as Wilson was about to pull the trigger, Alex and Lin arrived in time to save Rick. The entire family began fighting the enemies together. In the chaos, the goblet tipped over, and the elixir spilled, splashing onto the Emperor's stone statue. Lin quickly struck the skeleton lying in the chariot with a special dagger, hoping to destroy the Emperor before he could be revived. But to her horror, that skeleton wasn't the Emperor at all. The real Emperor was sealed inside the statue that had just been touched by the elixir. The stone began to crack and pulse with light. He was coming back to life. Rick fired a barrage of bullets at him, but they had no effect. Moments later, even the Emperor's stone horses came alive. Lin and Alex clung to the bottom of the chariot as it began to move. As the Emperor tried to escape, Rick, Evelyn, and Jonathan chased after him in a truck loaded with fireworks. Rick fired a rocket at the Emperor, but he dodged it, and the missile instead struck a nearby truck full of people, causing a massive explosion. As Evelyn drove closer to the Emperor's chariot, Rick leapt onto one of the horses. He cut the reins and shouted for Alex to join him, but Alex, still angry and stubborn, refused his father's help. The situation worsened when the Emperor ignited the fireworks inside Evelyn's truck, causing chaos. Rick's horse went wild, nearly throwing him off. Meanwhile, Lin and Alex tried desperately to stop the Emperor. During the fight, General Yang shot Lin. Alex rushed to save her but slipped and barely managed to hang on to the edge. Lin grabbed his hand and pulled him up, saying, "Don't worry, the bullet didn't hit me." Just then, Yang detached the chariot from the horses, sending it flying through the air. Using his powers, the Emperor froze the entire road into solid ice. Lin and Alex lost their balance, and all of them crashed into the middle of a Chinese festival, where Rick and Evelyn also happened to be. The entire area erupted into chaos as fireworks exploded everywhere. Evelyn's truck caught fire, and she and Jonathan jumped out just in time before it blew up. The Emperor managed to escape. Everyone regrouped later at Jonathan's nightclub. There, Lin revealed the truth: she was a descendant of the Emperor's own family. Her ancestors had been guarding his tomb for centuries. She warned everyone that the Emperor was incredibly cruel, and under no circumstances should he be resurrected. Now, the only way to stop him was to lure him to the Shangri-La portal, where he could finally be destroyed. She showed them a mystical dagger, the only weapon capable of killing him permanently. The group boarded a plane and headed toward the Himalayas through a raging snowstorm. The journey was treacherous, and at one point, it seemed they would all fall into a deep ravine, but they narrowly survived. Mad Dog McGuire informed them that General Yang had already reached the mountain. Hearing this, Rick and the others decided to camp there for the night. As night fell, everyone rested. Evelyn teasingly told Lin, "I think Alex likes you. I'm his mother, I can tell." When Alex entered the tent, Lin asked him directly, "Do you like me?" Alex tried to play it cool and said, "What? No way. Me? In love with you? Ew!" Lin smirked and replied, "Good, Because I don't like you either. But you didn't have to say EW. Despite their words, it was clear there was chemistry between them. The next day, the group arrived at an ancient temple with a golden tower at its center. As Yang's soldiers took their positions outside, an intense gunfight broke out. During the battle, the Chinese troops launched rockets, damaging the temple structure. As the fighting intensified, the temple began to collapse. Realizing the danger, Rick and his team started to fall back. Meanwhile, Jonathan tried to light the explosives tied around the golden tower, hoping to prevent the Emperor from regaining his full power. But he was caught in heavy gunfire and barely escaped alive. While running, he dropped his lighter into the snow and couldn't ignite the fuse. Outside the temple, Rick and Evelyn saw Lin crying and chanting in an ancient language. The Chinese soldiers tried to gain full control of the temple, but suddenly, 3 enormous creatures appeared out of nowhere and began fighting alongside Rick's team. Jonathan finally found his lighter and managed to ignite the fuse. With the help of the mythical beasts, they took down most of Yang's soldiers. But then the Emperor emerged, using his powers to make sharp spikes burst from the ground. With a flick of his hand, he stopped the burning fuse and frightened the giant creatures away. He then climbed the golden tower and placed the Eye of Shangri-La at its peak. The moment he did, a powerful beam of light shot out, pointing toward a mysterious location. Meanwhile, Alex prepared to attack the Emperor with a stick of dynamite, not realizing that the Emperor had already hurled his sword straight at him. At the last second, Rick jumped in front of his son, shoving him out of the way, and took the hit himself. Because of this, Alex's aim went off, and the dynamite explosion triggered a massive snowstorm. A tidal wave of ice surged toward them, but suddenly, the giant creatures returned and rescued the group just in time. Everything was buried under thick layers of snow and ice. The team gathered together again, only to realize that Rick was on the verge of death. Lin urgently said, "Come with me, quickly!" They followed her into a hidden cave, where they met Ziyuan, Sophia, Lin's mother, the same sorceress who had cursed the Dragon Emperor centuries ago. And incredibly, she was still alive. Alex immediately realized that Lin and her mother were both immortal. Sophia asked everyone to rest and began treating Rick's wounds. She told them that she had been living there ever since the Emperor stabbed her hundreds of years ago. At that time, those strange-looking creatures, also known as Yetis, had saved her life. While Sophia was treating Rick, Alex went to Lin and said, "Earlier I was just acting cool, but honestly I love you." Lin refused, saying, "Look, I don't want to become like my mother. She truly loved General Ming, and after his death, she spent centuries mourning him. You'll grow old and die one day, what will I do without you?" In the middle of this conversation, Jonathan arrived and told them that Rick had regained consciousness. When Alex went into the room to meet his father, he finally opened his heart. He apologized, gave his father all the love and respect he deserved, and promised to be a better son from now on. Rick was surprised to see this change in his son and said, "No, it's my fault. I've been a lousy father." Both father and son apologized to each other and reconciled. Meanwhile, Sophia told Lin that she was going to give up her immortality so that Lin could live a normal life. But suddenly, the Emperor attacked them with a fireball, separating Lin and Sophia. He threw both women to the ground and snatched the sacred dagger, the only weapon that could kill him. Without that dagger, no one could defeat him. Then the Emperor entered the divine pool to fully restore his power. From inside the pool, the Emperor emerged as a 3-headed dragon. The terrifying fire from his mouth illuminated the entire cave. To settle her old score with him, the Emperor kidnapped Lin and flew to the place where his army was imprisoned. There he reunited with General Yang. Meanwhile, Rick and his team followed them in their aircraft. When the Emperor reached his destination, he transformed back into human form and assured his army that they would soon rule the entire world. Rick and his team were hiding behind some rocks nearby, watching the scene unfold. Sophia, on the other hand, reached an underground chamber beneath the Great Wall of China. She began chanting spells to resurrect the Emperor's ancient enemies who were buried there. To bring them back to life, she sacrificed her and Lin's immortality, after the ritual, she would become mortal again. Suddenly, countless skeleton warriors emerged from the ground and rushed toward the battlefield, ready to fight the Emperor's army. At that moment, Rick realized Alex was missing. Alex had disguised himself as a Chinese soldier and infiltrated the enemy camp. Soon, he rescued Lin, who was being held captive. The Emperor then confronted Sophia, who stood on a small rocky platform. A fierce battle broke out between them, with both attacking ferociously. The Emperor struck her sword out of her hand and held his blade to her neck. As Sophia grabbed his sword, she noticed he had the sacred dagger. Taking advantage of the moment, she moved closer and secretly took it from him. The Emperor thought he had won and slashed his sword, sending Sophia plummeting off the cliff. When the Emperor saw the approaching aircraft, he transformed back into the dragon and destroyed the plane completely. After regrouping, Rick and his team saw the Emperor heading toward an underground passage to awaken his army completely. Before following him, they found Sophia crawling away, badly wounded. In her final moments, she died in Lin's arms, but before dying, she handed Lin the sacred dagger, the Emperor's only weakness. As Lin mourned her mother's death, Alex and Rick picked up the dagger and went after the Emperor. Alex reached him just before he could revive his army. The Emperor once again turned into the dragon to fight. Rick jumped from behind, trying to stab the creature's heart with the dagger, but the Emperor threw Alex away. When Rick failed to pierce his heart, the Emperor snatched the dagger and tried to stab Rick instead. Luckily, Rick dodged, but the dagger hit the wall and broke into 2 pieces. Meanwhile, Lin and Evelyn were fighting General Young, who had survived Jonathan's earlier bomb attack. Together, the 2 women managed to kill him. The final battle between the Emperor and Rick began. As they fought, Alex picked up one half of the broken dagger and wrote a special message for his father in the dirt. Seeing the message in the middle of the fight, Rick immediately understood what to do. He grabbed the other half of the dagger and, at the right moment, stabbed it into the Emperor's heart. The Emperor wasn't afraid. He thought the broken dagger couldn't harm him. But then Alex jumped in from behind and drove the second half into the Emperor's body. The Emperor was engulfed in flames and destroyed completely. With his final breath, his entire army also disintegrated. After everything ended, everyone returned to Shanghai. In the end, we see Rick and Evelyn dancing together happily, and beside them, Alex and Lin also dancing as a couple. Both pairs finally found peace and happiness. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, and help us reach 1 million subscribers soon. I love you all!